Welcome to Michigan Main Lines. Today we're going to be doing something here a little bit different. We have the Trainz railroad simulator, and we happen to have a route of the South Bend to Niles line, specifically that portion that runs to Notre Dame and St. Mary's. And so what we're going to do is kind of take a look at the overview of this and actually take a cab ride and kind of do a tour of the line. This is kind of overlooking things here a little bit, the way it ran across the west side of South Bend. There you see the sidings of the old Drury's. It meandered on up across the river and up to the Notre Dame campus area. There you see it joining the north-south Niles to South Bend. There's the St. Mary's branch up there in the right-hand corner. That was the loop that extended to their power plant. And then as we go farther to the east here now, we will see the section that ran into the Notre Dame coal pile, the double track there at the curve, and finally the power plant. So what we're going to do here now is kind of jump into the cab. This of course is a train simulator. This is still a work in process. This route is really by no means finished. There's a lot more that can be done to it. You'll see a little blue Conrail engine there now that we just jumped into. This is the east-west Conrail main line running through South Bend, and we will be approaching what was known as Cherry Street Switch to enter the trackage that will take us up to Notre Dame. We are on the move there now, going around that corner. This line there, we see us leaving the double track main line. This is kind of set in the early 80s to early 90s, so we're going to kind of use the track configuration at that time. And I'll kind of be talking about things as we go. We're rounding the curve there. To the right would have been the old South Bend Range Complex. Over to the left would be Hurwich Iron and South Bend Smelting. Just up ahead here now, there was a switch with a siding there you see going off to the left that went into South Bend Smelting, where they would occasionally ship out boxcars of fly ash that goes into that complex. Again, Hurwich buildings. Now these are not true to scale of what they really look like. You know, we of course can't get that detailed, but we did the best that we could. Now we are coming up to Circle Avenue. Past Circle Avenue, over to the left is the Adams Engineering and Washington Street. Signals marking Washington Street as they were. Just to the right here, there used to be a little coal yard with a spur years and years ago. Now we come up to Orange Street and College Street crossings. Of course, Orange Street is where the South Shore line crossed this line on a dirt street until about 1971. Now we are approaching Linden Avenue, continuing to head north through a neighborhood setting here now. Next street coming up will be Florence. Next up will be Sibley. Next up will be Fosnut Avenue. Just across Fosnut there used to be a switch, and then there was a siding that ran almost up to Lincoln Way. That was probably removed in the early 70s, so we don't show it depicted here. Now we approach Longley Avenue. You see some buildings there on the right. I believe that used to be some kind of a beverage distributor back in the late 60s, and I think there might have been a siding with docks on that building, but I can't be sure. Now we come around a kind of a curve and approach Sibley Avenue, or Werwinski rather, Werwinski Avenue. And then we will cross College again. Again, the siding ran just to the right of this. Crossing College. Speed about 10 miles an hour. That's about what the speed limit was on this line at the time, but we're going to kind of be going faster here sometimes. Kind of look at track level. Rupel Street crossing. Then we will be approaching Lincoln Way West. They did not have signals there, only a single flashing caution light, but I decided to put signals to make it more interesting. Plus I think there really needed to be. Monarch Laundry just to the right. Then we'll be crossing Wilbur Street, and in very short order Van Buren, which kind of crossed right there. To the left will be Holy Cross Church and School. It was actually a bit of a built-up berm to the left here, but that has not been added yet. Then we approach Vassar Avenue and the old Drury's complex up to the left. Track was still going in there at this time. There was some small businesses in there, namely Martin's Supermarket and Camlon Fertilizer, both receiving freight by rail. The kind of entrance side streets here aren't quite configured right the way they cross the track, but that's kind of the rough approximation of how that worked. Portage overpass coming up in the distance. Just to the left past these trees would have been the Martin's Supermarket, that being closed now. This is not uncommon to just have a single switch engine coming up to Notre Dame. That's the way this was many times operated when only pickups were being made, as we're doing today. There's about 14 empty hopper cars waiting at Notre Dame, and that's what we are going to retrieve. Now we come up to Woodward Avenue. Just to the left there used to be a siding. I believe there was an oil dealer there that used to take freight, but again at this time it was already out of service. Lock Joint Tube Company coming up ahead to the left. I think there might have been a spur that served them way back when, but again, not at this time. They had kind of their own private entrance up ahead, which we will be crossing here first. And we'll be approaching Riverside Drive and cross the bridge over the St. Joseph River. I also added a couple signals here just for interest's sake. Next is North Shore Boulevard, apartment complex over to the left. Now we kind of get into the Angela Hill area. To the right across is Angela Boulevard. This was quite a grade here, which I haven't really duplicated. I have been told by those that actually operated this line that it was difficult to get several cars of coal up this grade without going at least 20 miles an hour to make a run at it. So if the power was only a switch engine like we have today, that could be difficult, and they sometimes would stall on this grade. This in later years section here also was a very weed-covered portion of the line. We might want to add some more foliage in here to try to duplicate that. This line is kind of a little bit more wavy than it really was too. That can be adjusted, but I guess it kind of gives the feel of a ramshackle line, which is really what it was in its later years. We'll then start bearing northeastward as we approach the Holy Cross College area. There's kind of a lot of trees in this area here. The river, of course, is not that far over to our left. To the right would be Holy Cross College area. We'll then join the north-south line that came in from Niles. that at one time used to go south into South Bend, crossing Angela Boulevard, but at this time it ended just north of Angela Boulevard and the old St. Joseph High School. There was a double track passing siding that went right through the Holy Cross Junior College campus that was used when coal was brought up here, and it had to be dealt with getting the engine around to the other side. Here we will be joining the north-south line. You can see that double track there just to the right. This area now has a lot of housing. I believe Holy Cross Village occupies much of this area, so there's a lot of development and building right in this area here now. But now we join the old North-South Michigan Central. We'll be heading due north now. We'll be crossing the entrance into St. Mary's just here up ahead, the main entrance. And looking straight ahead, we see the then overpass for the Indiana Toll Road entrance ramp. That of course is all down now, and that area is occupied by hotels. We will be taking the right cutoff, which is the broad curve which leads to the track that paralleled Douglas Road and ultimately to the Notre Dame power plant. Empty coal cars were normally set out just across 31 alongside Douglas Road. That is where full cars were left too. So that is where the empties are set out and waiting for us today. Notre Dame had their own locomotive which would deal with those cars after they were left, taking them into the power plant or unloading the coal in their yard, which they had a double track. I also added some signals for 31. Signals were never there, only wooden crossbucks, but I felt that that was something that really should have always been, so I added it. Up ahead you can see our waiting coal hoppers. Try to get this thing stopped here. 60 miles an hour is a little bit too fast to couple onto cars. Using kind of a cheap interface here to operate this. I'm going to try to get more professional controls, but for our purposes today it doesn't really matter. Don't do a complete stop here now, so we're going to have to get up a little bit more speed here to couple onto those cars. There's Douglas Road just to the left. Up ahead, some of the Notre Dame structures. And there. I guess we didn't hit too hard because we didn't derail anything. There's no axis coming up, so it looks like we're in good shape. So that concludes this part 1. Next we'll do a return trip from here back to the main line and talk some more about the line. Hope you enjoyed this. If there's enough interest, we might do some more of these things. Maybe deliver some cars into the Notre Dame or the Old Drury's complex, or even the Big C lumber yard just to the north of here. We'll have to jump back into the cab here now and switch to camera view to be able to see heading back. Again, thanks for watching.